I was like, wow, this is embarrassing for the WNBA.
To better myself, because you can't change the past, but hopefully I can, do a different outcome for the future.
The WNBA All-Star Draft was supposed to be a celebration of elite athleticism, a night that highlighted the league's growth, unity, and star power on a national stage. But instead of elevating the moment, Nafessa Collier transformed it into a personal marketing campaign for her rival league, Unrivaled. What was meant to be a unifying night quickly unraveled into controversy, sparking outrage from fans, commentators, and even loyal supporters of the league. Viewers tuned in expecting excitement, competitiveness, and maybe a few lighthearted moments. What they got was confusion and, for many, a sense of betrayal. Collier showed up wearing a bold Unrivaled shirt and dropped the name of her co-owned league multiple times on ESPN during a league-sponsored event. The league didn't just get overshadowed, it got hijacked. As one fan perfectly put it, "Wow, this is embarrassing for the WNBA." And honestly, that wasn't an overreaction. This wasn't a moment of poor judgment. It was a calculated statement. Collier didn't walk back her actions, she doubled down on them. In fact, she framed her promotion of Unrivaled as a reflection of her competitive nature. But here is the problem: that same competitive drive is now being aimed at the very league that gave her a platform. As the co-founder of Unrivaled and a leading voice in the WNBPA's CBA negotiations, Collier's dual role blurs every professional line. When she says she's using Unrivaled to build her game, it sounds like growth. But when that growth comes at the expense of the WNBA's spotlight and stability, it becomes a conflict of interest. The message was clear: Unrivaled is her top priority. And in a time when the WNBA is fighting for expansion, better pay, and mainstream respect, Collier's unapologetic stance doesn't just feed her personal brand, it fans the flames of division.
The next time I'm playing in the W season, because it sucks to lose, and as a professional athlete, everyone feels that way.
Every athlete hates to lose, but not every athlete turns a loss into a branding opportunity. After the All-Star Game defeat, Collier could have responded by highlighting teammates, lifting the league, or just showing resilience. Instead, she leaned into self-promotion, doubling down on Unrivaled in a moment that was supposed to be about unity. The response wasn't about the game, the fans, or the future of the WNBA. It was about fueling her own side project. That's where things started to unravel. Instead of standing with the league in a vulnerable moment, she pivoted attention toward a venture that directly competes with it. At a time when the WNBA is on the rise, gaining media attention, growing its fan base, and negotiating major deals, Collier's choice to focus on her own league sent a message. And it wasn't, "We rise together." It was, "I'm building something else." The timing couldn't have been worse, and the optics couldn't have been clearer. When stars make it all about themselves, it fractures trust. What fans and executives saw wasn't just passion, it was control slipping through the league's hands. While other players absorbed the loss and looked ahead, Collier made sure her brand got airtime. And in doing so, she made herself look less like a leader and more like a rogue entrepreneur using league failure as fuel for personal gain.
Napheesa shamelessly self-promoted in the All-Star Game draft?
The All-Star Draft is supposed to be lighthearted, a chance to showcase personality, sportsmanship, and the stars of the WNBA. But this year it took a sharp turn. Napheesa Collier didn't just appear as a captain, she came armed with a mission to push Unrivaled into the public consciousness. Her commentary, attire, and even her banter were all strategically built around brand exposure. This wasn't fun or organic, it was corporate. That's why the reaction wasn't mixed, it was overwhelmingly critical. Reaction channels, fans, even neutral voices couldn't ignore what was happening. This wasn't a wink and nod mention of another project. This was a full-blown intentional hijacking of a nationally televised event for the benefit of a business she owns. And when something that's meant to celebrate the league becomes a commercial for a competitor, it's no longer about growing the game, it's about growing a brand. What hurts even more is the lost opportunity. The WNBA needed that moment to shine. Viewership was up, new fans were tuning in, and the media was watching closely. Instead of delivering a unified, exciting showcase, the league was forced into damage control. The moment was taken from them, and the person who took it was supposed to be one of their own. That betrayal didn't just make headlines. It fractured the image of a league still fighting to prove it can stand together.
Fee sat on ESPN and pushed Unrivaled propaganda for 30 straight minutes.
For years, the WNBA has fought to be taken seriously on the national stage. So when the All-Star Draft aired, one of the few moments when casual viewers actually tune in, the expectation was unity, visibility, and celebration of the league. Instead, what they got was a branding stunt. Napheesa Collier didn't just show up as a player. She showed up as a co-founder of a rival league, ready to leverage ESPN airtime for personal promotion. Her presence was loud, her messaging louder, and the WNBA got drowned out. Backlash wasn't subtle. Even reaction channels and sports analysts, many of whom usually root for player empowerment, started using words like reckless, egotistical, and tone-deaf. And they weren't wrong. The moment wasn't used to highlight the league, the players, or the game. It was used to spotlight a project she co-owns, Unrivaled. This wasn't a bold play to advance the sport. It was a power move designed to show who's really in control of the narrative. But that control came at a cost. In the end, what should have been a win for women's basketball turned into an internal PR nightmare. The WNBA wasn't just overshadowed, it was undermined by one of its own stars. And that's the difference between pushing boundaries and pushing buttons. The All-Star Draft wasn't the time to make Unrivaled the headline. Collier had the mic, and instead of raising the league, she used it to raise herself.
There's no conflict of interest in CBA negotiations. Laugh out loud.
15 minutes. That's all it took for one of the WNBA's most visible broadcasts to turn into a glorified Unrivaled commercial. Viewers didn't get introduced to the next generation of league stars or hear stories of team rivalries. Instead, they got hit with brand messaging, again and again, from a co-founder using her platform not to celebrate the WNBA, but to expand her own empire. Collier mentioned Unrivaled 5 separate times before the first quarter of the show even ended. That's not enthusiasm, that's a playbook. Imagine an NFL Pro Bowler walking into a CBS broadcast wearing a jersey from a league he owns and then talking about it nonstop. That wouldn't fly in the NFL. It wouldn't even fly in college ball, but in the WNBA, it happened. And the fact that Collier executed it so cleanly shows this wasn't a mistake or a slip-up. This was a calculated marketing strategy, wrapped in the soft language of growth and empowerment. But the people watching knew exactly what it was. A redirection of attention, brand loyalty, and focus. And it's that redirection that makes it so dangerous. The WNBA is trying to expand its audience, lock in more media deals, and elevate its stars as faces of a movement, not competitors to it. By turning a league spotlight into a personal platform, Collier sent a message to sponsors, networks, and even her peers. This league is just a stage for something bigger, and that something is mine. That message might build Unrivaled, but it breaks trust with the very league trying to carry the sport forward.
Breanna Stewart and Napheesa Collier are even involved in this. All right.
Napheesa Collier wasn't subtle. She didn't deny the criticism. In fact, she acknowledged it, then used a nationally televised WNBA event to rub it in. What she called shading the critics turned into exactly what fans and media feared, proof that the conflict of interest is not just real but flaunted. Let's be clear, this isn't a gray area. Collier co-founded a rival league and still sits at the negotiating table for the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement. And during a key league moment, she chose to elevate her personal brand over the sport's integrity.
Even worse,
that's not just unprofessional, that's undermining the entire negotiation process.
Ecosystem,
it signals
Collier
to fans, sponsors, and even fellow
WNBA
players that personal ambition might be steering the ship, not the best interest of the league.
Think about
and
that.
in Collier's own words, she wanted to shade the people accusing her of conflict. Instead, she just proved them all right. But what seemed like self-promotion quickly escalated into something deeper, a full-blown conflict of interest, and the league's silence spoke volumes.